the truth behind the speech of Donald Trump at the UN in New York lately, when he was speaking, addressing Europe, and particularly mentioning Switzerland, related to the mass migration problem that we have, of which many countries want to close their eyes and not talk about, we will back it up with some facts. We will not do a fact check. We will back it up with some facts. And we will talk about the real truth behind the truth that he dropped. Let's go. So, of course, all the German-speaking state medias and mainstream medias wanted to disprove and discredit his speech and his numbers, the facts that he was dropping about Europe, immediately. But unfortunately, it turned out that he had his numbers correctly. Although the teleprompter was not working, he had his stuff together. So let's listen what he was saying concerning Europe and the mass migration problem, the self-made, the intentional problem with mass migration that we have. Because it's all intentional. By some forces in the leftist parties, they want to have this mass migration. They will argue that we need the labor. We don't have enough labor because we don't produce enough babies. We don't have enough children. That's what they say. So they blame it on us, actually. They put the blame on us. It's like, it's your own fault. It's your own fault that we need to mass migrate all these illegal aliens, which don't really have a passport. I mean, they have one, but they burned it, most probably. Now they have 10 different ones, or none at all. And we can't track those people. And these people do not come here to work, although they want to make us believe that these are the people which would look after our parents when they're older, or even ourselves when we are old, and we will need care and help. That these people will look after us. But what they don't seem to know, or what they know it, but they don't want to know, and they don't want to tell us that these people don't really come here to work. They want to install Sharia law in Europe. That's what they want. They want another caliphate. They want Islam to take over again, right? That's what they want. But nevertheless, the politicians in Europe, they don't, a lot of politicians and prime ministers and, federal councils and of many liberal countries in Europe, they don't want to hear these facts. They don't want to hear, and especially they don't want to hear it from somebody outside of Europe. And especially they don't want to hear it from Donald Trump. Because the way Donald Trump is seen by many politicians in Europe is very particular. Very particular. But let's talk about this later. We will now quickly have a look of a clip of Donald Trump's speech at the UN in New York, where he was addressing Europe and the mass migration problem that we obviously have. And then we will back it up with some facts and some numbers, and we will talk about the real truth and the real, what he says here is bad, Your countries are going to hell. But there's the real shocking truth behind it. Wait for it. Let's have a look. We will talk about this later. Let's have a look here at the clip.
They've been invaded by a force of illegal aliens like nobody's ever seen before. Illegal aliens are pouring into Europe. Nobody's doing anything to change it, to get them out. It's not sustainable. And because they choose to be politically correct, they're doing just absolutely nothing about it.
They're not just doing nothing about it. They are the ones who cause it. Not caused it. They are still causing it. So they are the ones who cause it.
And I have to say, I look at London where you have a terrible mayor, terrible mayor. And it's been so changed. Now they want to go to Sharia law. But you're in a different country. You can't do that. Both the immigration and their suicidal energy ideas will be the death of Western Europe if something is not done immediately. They cannot.
That's absolutely true. We don't want Sharia law. We don't want it. We don't want it. Yet it's the government who is telling us now that we are Islamophobic if we say something against this plan that is obviously taking place at the moment. It's right here. It's happening right now. It's happening right now. And they want to shut us down. God forbidden, here in the middle of Europe, it's not that bad yet, as it is in England, where people are getting arrested daily, for social media posts, for things they say on social media, when they mention the illegal mass migration. You know, I have to take care. I got to watch out. I don't know for how long I will be able to freely speak what I think and report on what I see without fearing to be persecuted.
This cannot be sustained. What makes the world so beautiful is that each country is unique. But to stay this way, every sovereign nation must have the right to control their own borders. You have the right to control your borders, as we do now, and to limit the sheer numbers of migrants entering their countries and paid for by the people of that nation that were there and that built that particular nation at the time. They put their blood, sweat, tears, money into that country, and now they're being ruined. Proud nations must be allowed to protect their communities and prevent their societies from being overwhelmed by people they have never seen before, with different customs, religions, with different everything.
Thousands of people lost their lives to found the countries that we are living in. You don't have an idea what history is behind, how much blood, sweat, and tears is behind this continent and its countries. And now they want to destroy all this within a few decades by letting these people in masses. And you know, the militant ones, the militant Islamists, not the so-called moderate ones, the educated ones. No. The most primitive, the criminals, the essays, the ropers, you know, the murderers. It's insane.
Where migrants have violated laws, lodged false asylum claims, or claimed refugee status for illegitimate reasons, they should, in many cases, be immediately sent home. And while we will always have a big heart for places and people that are struggling and truly compassionate, answers will be given. We have to solve the problem, and we have to solve it in their countries, not create new problems in our countries. And we are very helpful to a lot of countries that are just not able to send their people anymore. They used to send them to us in caravans of 25, 30,000 people each. These massive caravans of people pouring into our country, totally unchecked and unvetted. But not anymore. According to the Council of Europe in 2024, almost 50% of inmates in German prisons were foreign nationals or migrants. In Austria, the number was 53% of the people in prisons were from places that weren't from where they are now. In Greece, the number was 54%, and in Switzerland, beautiful Switzerland, 72% of the people in prisons are from outside of Switzerland. When your prisons are filled with so-called asylum seekers who repaid kindness, and that's what they did, they repaid kindness with crime, it's time to end the failed experiment of open borders. You have to end it now.
Here. This is the Swiss delegation here. Oh, she has not good memories. She don't have good memories with Donald Trump, because she was the one who messed up, actually, the bilateral with Donald Trump, and now we have these very high tariffs. So, and this is Cassis, Ignacio Cassis. He's the Minister of Foreign Affairs, I believe.
Let's see, I can tell you, I'm really good at this stuff. Your countries are going to hell. In America, we've taken bold action to swiftly shut down uncontrolled migration. Once we started detaining and deporting everyone who crossed the border and removing illegal aliens from the United States, they simply stopped coming. They're not coming anymore. We're getting a lot of credit, but they're not coming anymore. This was a humanitarian act for all involved, because on the trips up, thousands of people a week were dying. Women were being raped. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. Raped, horribly beaten, raped. On the trip up, the journey up, it was a long walk. It was a long, arduous journey, indeed.
You know, all this making the illegal mass migration into European countries so easy, and not bringing people back, but taking them in and giving them money and food and shelter, and, you know, like, some people would give everything for those people. And I know it's part of a Christian nature, but you just need to check on people. You know, of course we give if we have enough. We will share, and we always have enough to share, right? I feel like I always have enough to share. But if people are assaulting you, if this is like how they pay back in assaulting and roping our daughters and grooming our children, mass roping people, stabbing people, driving with vehicles into Christmas markets full of people, women and children, everybody is, you know, then you gotta say, no, hold on. Something's wrong. This is demonic. This is straight up demonic. And we cannot welcome and cheer for this. We cannot welcome those type of aliens. It's not about migrants in general. It's not about migration in general. It's about a certain type of individuals coming from Islamic countries, usually single males in fighting age, you know, soldier age. And they actually are soldiers for the jihad. They are kind of sent from their countries. They have been brainwashed. You know, their head is full of hate and hatred. And they have this strange demonic ideology, which they call a religion. So Trump's claims, let's back it up with some facts. So, as I mentioned, the state media, all the state medias, most of the state medias in Europe, of course, they always want to fact check the conservative side. They never do it on the left side, or almost never, but never mind. Of course, they wanted to prove him wrong, but unfortunately, he wasn't wrong. So let's see here what the SRF is the Swiss state media, what they said here. Let me put, first they need to say that the teleprompter which was not working was actually operated by the White House and not by the UN. So just to make him look stupid, because that's what I mentioned before, like, you know, in Europe, a lot of governments are left-leaning, right? And Europe is very much, it has a big trauma from the Second World War. And they have a wrong perception that the National Socialists from the Third Reich were right extremists. That's what we all say here in Europe. It's right extremism. Although they are called National Socialists, which would put them on the other spectrum. So, but never mind. Europe has a big trauma, a huge trauma, because of this World War, the Second World War. And the governments of the countries, they want to prevent under any circumstances that we will fall back to this, to the state that there is a atmosphere and a possibility that something could build up again. That fascism would be on the rise again, although it's already here. It's because they are so much behind preventing fascism that they became the fascists themselves. But never mind. These are all topics for different videos. But in Europe, we have a problem with conservatives, with nationalists, So if Trump says this, everybody wants to prove him wrong. Unfortunately, he is not wrong. Or in this case, at least, he was not wrong. He was 100% correct. Let's go here. You destroy your own countries. Here. Trump says illegal migration is also threatening the beautiful Switzerland. And he says 72% of the inmates in prisons are foreigners. So according to the numbers of the Federal Office for Statistics, BFS, of January 2025, we have 72.5% of all the prisoners in Switzerland without a Swiss passport. So he was completely right. He didn't lie about it. So also, if you ask Google, they say the same thing. January 2025, around 72%. Here it also says it's relatively stable. Since 2004, where we had 70.7%, it's kind of stable. So there's no reason to worry. It's a stable number. To me, that makes it even more troubling. Makes the entire thing even more troubling. Now, possible reasons for this are criminal tourism. A lot of people are just crossing the border, coming into Switzerland to commit some crimes. One group of the prisoners are asylum seekers who broke the law, the asylum law, I don't know what that would mean. If it's not like a normal crime, knife crime, attacking people, roping, grooming women, something like this. And then one reason is just other crimes. I don't know. That don't mean anything. But here now we get to the shocking part. It's a higher percentage as in the population. So the percentage of foreign prisoners is much higher than the percentage of foreign people living in Switzerland, which was at the end of 2024, 27%. 27%. The thing is, they can say whatever they want. What could be possible reasons for this? Criminal tourism. But the number which stands out to me, what is the most important behind all this, that we have 72% of prisoners which don't have a Swiss passport, is that this number here, 72% of foreign people in this country. So 72, not migrants. People who migrated here and now became Swiss. No, 72% of foreigners, they don't have a Swiss passport. So the Blick writes in its article here, which has the title, "What's Behind Trump's 72% Statement?" that they're going to check because they don't know if it's true what Trump is proclaiming. Now, they say it is misleading to only mention this number, and that the facts will say something different. So let's see what the facts are really saying. Let's find out here. So they write Switzerland has actually one of the highest percentage of foreign prison inmates worldwide. worldwide. Not just in Europe, it's worldwide. So in the international comparison, we are very, very high up. Only small states like Monaco, Andorra, Liechtenstein and Luxembourg have higher numbers. But this is only or mainly because of the very high percentage of foreigners living in Switzerland, foreigners without a Swiss passport living in Switzerland. That's the 27.4%, which we know from at the end of 2024 was the number that they gave us. If you have so many people living in Switzerland without a Swiss passport, of course, the percentage, the number of prison inmates will also be in the same way. But it's 72, it's not 27, it's 72. That will tell you a lot about how many, the ratio of Swiss people committing a crime and foreigners without a Swiss passport. And here it's migrants as Swiss people as well. Because let me get this clear. I'm not talking about foreigners, people who migrated in general. I'm only speaking about people without a Swiss passport who are living in this country but don't have a Swiss passport. These people, because all the illegal migrants count in this section. I don't speak about anybody with a migration background living in this country, having a Swiss passport, contributing to society, going to work, having a family or having no family, I don't know, but contributing, pay taxes, following the law, following the rules, more or less, like we all do, the way we do, like we all do, normal people do. I'm not talking about normal people. I'm talking about people in this country, specifically people in this country without a Swiss passport, coming from another country where they should actually live in their country. There's no real reason for them to be here. Most of the time. Some small percentage of this fraction of people, they do have a real reason to be here, even without a passport or without a Swiss passport. But not the majority. The majority, no. People from Syria, for instance, no. There's no war in Syria, People from Somalia, there's no active war going on in Somalia. You can go home. So now they give us the exact composition of all the prison inmates, the 72%. So January the 31st, 2025, we have 6,994 people in Swiss prisons, of which 5,096 are foreigners. According to a study of the university in Lausanne, by the way, if you want to have a look what's going on in Lausanne, what has been going on in Lausanne lately, please have a look at this video here. I'm showing you right now. It's very important because, there were some riots in the city of Lausanne. But anyhow, according to a study to the University of Lausanne from the year 2019, that's now 6 years old, that the composition is what's making the difference. So there's nothing to worry about. Just check out the composition and then the 72%, which coming from the 27% of people living in Switzerland without a passport and becoming criminals is not a problem. It's because the composition. The study showed that almost 50% of the prison inmates were legally living in Switzerland. This contains Swiss people, but also foreigners without a Swiss passport with a fixed residence here. Then 9.6% were asylum seekers, and the biggest group, 41.1%, were other foreigners and foreigners with unknown status, whatever that means. So what we see here is they try to explain that the composition is decisive, but their explanation is very difficult to understand because they're throwing around different numbers. And this is not because here we are talking about January the 31st, 2025, right? The number of people in prisons. The study is from 2019. 6 years later. And then the first number, they say almost 50% of people in prison were legally living in Swiss. This also includes Swiss people. But that's not the number that we were talking about up here. We are talking about the 72% of foreigners. Hello, foreigners, not the Swiss people. We don't care about this. We don't care about this. These are not the same numbers, right? And then they say here, and the biggest group, 41%. But we had here a group which is almost 50%. So, what? What I see is that in Group 1, there are foreigners. Group 2 are asylum seekers. Group 3 are only foreigners. So foreigners, foreigners, foreigners. Don't try to whitewash it. It is what it is, okay? And it all goes back to the 27% of people without a Swiss passport living in this country. And now they say it's because we are a small country and only the even smaller countries have a higher percentage. Now, this raises some serious question, if you ask me. What's the logic behind this? What's the logic behind this? Bigger countries have a higher number, but a lower percentage. But if you ask me, you have the size of countries. So you should scale it in the same way. You just say there's a certain percentage of illegal migrants that every country in Europe can take. And not because you're bigger, you take less percentage. It don't make sense to me, because if you have a smaller country, why should you take more? You have even less space. I don't get. Please, somebody explain it to me. Down there in the comment section, leave a comment and let me know. So what they say is, don't throw these groups in the same bucket with people in Switzerland who are living legally here, foreigners who are living legally here. Yeah, okay. Now, when we compare this to our neighboring countries like Germany and Austria, they say we have similar patterns, but with different numbers. In Germany, the percentage of prison inmates without a German passport in March 2024 was 37.4%. In Austria, they have like 50%. More than 50% of all prison inmates are foreigners with a foreign passport. And the percentage in the population of Austria is around 20%. So even compared to Austria, we have a much higher percentage in Switzerland, 27.4%. And now here comes another stupid argument. They say the number since 2004 is quite stable, like we heard before, right? And they think this is a good argument. This is good, like we are stable, right? But they just take the highest percentage that we ever have, and as long as we are below this, they say we're fine. Swiss prisons are as full as they weren't since 12 years. That's just a fact here, randomly, huh? So, they only had the same number of prisoners in 2013. 2013 was when we were opening the gates and all the people came in from Syria. Now they are sitting in our prisons, and our prisons are overcrowded since 12 years. So now, we were talking about our neighboring countries. Let's see, how is the percentage? Let's see how high is the percentage in Germany. How many people are living in Germany without a German passport? At the end of 2024, in Germany, there were 15%. 15% without a German passport. Switzerland has 27, more than 27. Damn, let's see how is the number in the United Kingdom, in England. Let's see England, right? We hear a lot of bad things concerning illegal migration in England. Let's see. England has 14%. 14%. Let's see some more. Italy, 8.91%. Only 8. Almost 9. Almost 9% only. How about France, right? How about France? 13.1. Still nowhere near. Nowhere near. And did you have a look at London or Paris lately? How in certain areas it looks like we are in, I don't know, in the Middle East somewhere, in the Far East somewhere. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. But they only have 13% in France. How about Austria? It's a small state. Austria is 20.2%. We just read this in the article. So we even have much more than Austria. Because we are here. We are here. 27.4%. One of the highest percentage worldwide. But we're good. We're fine. The numbers are stable. That's good. That's a good thing. Also, the numbers of committed crimes from asylum seekers. I mean, it's not that bad, huh? And then we have to remember, we also have to consider the fact Switzerland is not only a very small country, half of the country is the Alps, where almost nobody lives. The Matterhorn, the Jungfrau Joch. So these are city areas. It's very condensed, man. Like these, it's very concentrated. So I don't know for how long we can take this without Switzerland is changing its face. We don't want Bern to look like Paris. We don't want Lausanne to look like London. No, man. No, thank you. No, thank you. We do not want Sharia law. No, thank you. We do not want it. And we are not Islamophobes because we are against this crazy death-loving ideology. We are Christians or whatever we are, but we are not Islamists. And we don't want to be. And we don't want to become. Right? Like the video if you don't want to become an Islamist. Same as me. Leave a comment. Let me know. What do you say about, is this really a very high? Do I see this clearly that this number is crazy high? Or do you think, hey man, chill, you're Switzerland. You don't have to worry about anything because you have chocolate and cheese. Please let me know down there in the comment section. Leave a comment, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye bye.